been working with VITA it's been quite a while actually. One thing I really love about VITA is they really do put the work in when it comes to validating milling machines. And it's been a real honor working with them. I was a dental assistant for years, and very long ago, back when it was the Centric red cam, the dentist I worked for uh, used VITA actually on my teeth. So, so I've seen VITA for a long time. It's one of the first products that you get introduced to in the dental office is the VITA Shade Guide that everybody knows. So working with this team has been a real honor. You can go to the next slide, Noah. So our milling machines have been validated by the VITA team. If you go to the VITA Center in Brea, California, you'll see our P55D, and soon you'll see our P42 wet mill. You can also purchase VITA products through Up3D, and this way we can provide some really valuable bundles when you purchase a milling machine through us. And then the other thing is I'm going to have you bring this up, Noah. So this is the exciting thing we have coming up, is that we are going to be doing some in-person courses at VITA. We're going to start with some basics, basic crown design. For anybody who has felt a little intimidated by, milling in office, or just wants more information, whether you're a lab or a dentist, these courses are meant to, kind of walk you through the basics. But as we go through next year in 2026, we will also be touching on some more of the advanced topics. So we're really excited about that. So all on X and some aesthetic interior crowns, things like that. So we're very excited about that. I also want to mention, by the way, if you have any questions during the webinar, please feel free to send us a chat. We're happy to, answer as we go along. We can make it more of a conversation instead of us just talking. So Noah, I'm going to let you talk a little bit about VITA and some of your CAD/CAM products that we're really excited about. And yeah, go for it.
Cool, awesome. Thanks, Holly. So over here at VITA, we're very excited this last 6 months that we've been working strongly with Up3D as far as validating a lot of our products in their mills. We've had some really great results, really great machines. Very happy to be able to work alongside with Up3D in this partnership. As everyone kind of knows, VITA, we stand very strong in the shade industry. We have our shade guides that were known very worldwide. A little bit of history about VITA. It's been around for a little over 100 years now. Started out with the shade guides and then dominated in denture teeth and porcelain. So kind of cruising through there in the beginning, we were able to innovate and have a lot of other different products. So these are some of the products that we have at VITA that we were able to validate with Up3D and their mills. We have the VITA anamic blocks that are hybrid ceramics, great for a lot of implants and veneer work. We have the original VITA block. So for everyone that's out there, the VITA block is the first CAD/CAM block out there that was available to the market. We've been around for a while, and it's a great block. It's actually one of my favorite blocks to use. It's a wet block, as well as our VITA Suprinity we would use in a wet mill as well. And this is a lithium silicate. And then, of course, our VITA YZ Zirconia, which is always one of my favorites when we get to 3D Master shades. We have numerous amounts of shades that you can choose from on the Zirconia. So that's always pretty fun. And super happy that we're able to use all this material with Up3D and get some awesome results, especially with the wet mill. And then when we do a lot of our full arches with our Zirconia, it's been pretty fun.
Yeah, I was going to say, Noah, I wanted to touch on the VITA anamic because I think this flies under the radar a little bit. For me, we speak with dentists a lot about milling. There is a subset of dentists that don't like zirconia. They don't like Emax too because is a little bit stronger than natural teeth. And so you'll run into some dentists that like full gold crowns because of the flexibility. And I always tell them about VITA Enamic because it has the resin in it that gives it a little bit of the flex that those dentists are looking for. And I've always thought it was a great material. When I used to train people on CEREC, I used to use Enamic. And I, just with the correct bonding, it's just the perfect block for somebody who doesn't want to go through the firing process, and for those that, that small subset of dentists that really want something that has more flex to it.
Yeah, it's a really great product. A lot of doctors read about it more so than I believe on the lab side. So I really hear super popular, like for chairside stuff. Like again, like kind of like you said, no firing needed. It's a composite silicate hybrid. So once it's milled, you can hand polish or you can just light cure glaze, and then you're pretty good to go. And because of that composite, yeah, the flexural strength has a lot of bend to it. Super great for implants. That way, as that material flexes, it's kind of less on the implant, less on the PDL ligaments and so forth. So it's kind of a really popular one for the chair side. So it's been kind of neat to see.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so we'll continue through. We're gonna fly through these slides because I don't really want this to be a about our milk presentation. I want to kind of get into the CAM software with Noah. I think that's really important. We're talking next week. We're going to talk a little bit more about the basic crown and designing it and everything. And we're going to kind of go through what we're going to do in person at VITA. But today I wanted to touch on the P55D. Just because it has been so extremely popular lately. And I want to talk a little bit about why that is and why everybody, dentists and labs in the US have been having a lot of success with it. And then we'll kind of skip through and go to the nesting software. So you can go ahead and go to the next one. So one thing with the P55D that people like is that it is compressor free. We notice, we have a lot of customers that are dental labs that maybe this is their first time getting into digital, and maybe they have a tiny compressor in the lab. They don't have enough space there for another machine added. So this has been great. It also makes it quieter. You don't have the compressor running all the time. I also noticed for dental offices that many times dentists seem to be kind of at the max where for their compressors because they're running their operatories on it. So it's also helpful for them so then they don't have to buy a second compressor. I want to talk a little bit about our tech support, and Noah, you kind of had some experience with our tech support too. So I'll let you pitch in as well, but we make that our utmost, priority is having good tech support. Working in CAD CAM all these years, one thing I've noticed that makes or breaks a milling company, you can have the best mill out there, and if you don't have the right tech support, it's going to end up failing, and the people who purchase it will end up having a lot of issues. So that's why we've made it a major priority to have USA technicians that are knowledgeable about our products. We also, what we generally do when people purchase a machine is we create a group chat where we actually put our some of our colleagues that are in China and India. That way, if it's evenings, you have tech support as well, but during the day, you have our USA team. VITA we just installed the P55D for you guys. Can you talk a little bit about that experience?
Yeah, it's been really helpful. We're so happy that we're able to use this mill. Having a non-compressor is really interesting. This is my first experience using a mill that's compressor free. I mean, it's not loud at all. It's super easy to use. Keeps very clean. That's actually really quite efficient. I've seen and I've used the first and second generation P5 milling machines. So it's just kind of interesting to see like the new generations and as things are progressing and how fast it can do, and things like that. As far as tech support, I mean, that's like key. I remember in school, one of my Professor Bobbitt, shout out, her first recommendation when you buy things, whether it's materials or equipment, is you always want to make sure you have the support. If you don't get the support that's needed, it's going to be really kind of hard. So I think
Mhm.
this is a really awesome collaboration between VITA and Up3D, as you guys have a complete technical team here as well that's reachable. And then same thing with VITA. We have Jim, Diego, and myself here on the tech team, so we're always able to answer phone calls. I think as we start kind of doing some bundles and things moving forward, I would imagine that we're probably going to be a pretty strong team with two different types of tech support, one for materials, one for the machine, that we're able to, kind of smooth things over with the clients and make sure everything is functioning properly.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, because there's a learning curve. There's an investment when you get into CAD CAM. There's an investment monetarily, but there's also an investment in time. And the people who are successful are the ones that get good training, have the patience to get through that learning curve, and have a team on their side that's really knowledgeable. And the VITA team is amazingly knowledgeable when it comes to these products. So we'll just kind of go quickly through the next few slides. I don't want to talk too much about this, but we do have a German spindle. When you look at the milling machines on the market, a lot of us are using the same company for our spindles. So this one is an electric spindle, which allows our mill to be compressor free. And you can go to the next one. I'm going to talk a little bit about servo systems. I was thinking about leaving this out, but I think it's interesting. So the servo motor of the P55D is kind of it's a difference from the stepper systems that you see out in the industry. When you see the servo motor milling machines, what you tend to think of, and you can go to the next slide, Noah, because I think this will give us some examples. A stepper machine is generally like your Roland's, your Almond gearbox, VHF. RP53 is a stepper. And when you think of servo, you tend to think of these huge machines that look like maybe an engineer should be running them. They're very complicated. They take up a lot of space, but the servo motor is a higher accuracy, and it'll make things a little bit faster. It's a closed loop. So instead of kind of like going up steps, once in a while with a stepper system, so they're going to miss a step, and that's where you get some inaccuracies. With the servo, it's just constantly feeding back. So that's something, to look into a little bit. It's an interesting part of the P55D, is that, and you can go to the next screen, Noah. What Up3D has done is they've taken that servo, which is generally, as you can see in the picture to the left, very complicated, very large, and they've made it into a compact mill with a very user-friendly interface. So this is something you can teach your staff to use very easily. It does require training, as I said before, but it's not going to be the high level of training that some of the other systems have. And you can go to the next one, Noah. I'm actually gonna, oh yeah, and it does come with UpCam Expert Edition, but I'm gonna let Noah kind of take over. We're gonna talk about the CAM software. So, workflow wise, Up3D does have the entire workflow. We have the intraoral scanners, we have desktop scanners, and we have design software. And we also have the CAM software, and that's kind of what I want to get into. So at this point, we're talking about nesting crowns, which when you're doing a block mill, which we'll talk about next week, is going to be a little bit more simple because you're just putting a crown into a block. With the CAM software, it's a little bit more complicated, and that's why we thought it might be a good idea to just kind of show you that process. So Noah, you can skip over to those, the slides with the videos of the CAM software.
Okay, perfect. Let's see.
And I'll let you talk about what you're doing here.
Yeah, so perfect. So this is just the CAM nesting the videos that we're going to look at right now, and then I think we can kind of do more of like the designs and next week, and then I think we can really get into detail once we have that course in January. But yeah, I've been playing around with the Upcam nesting software. I'm pretty familiar with Millbox and the AG system as well, and a little bit of Hyperdent. So that's just kind of like my background. I started playing with this Upcam, and to be quite frank, I find it really quite easy and user friendly, which I really like. And I think that's kind of important for a lot of maybe in-house labs or a lot of technicians that are just kind of starting to get into digital, because sometimes digital softwares can get very quite overwhelming. You can get stuck, things like that. If you don't know which buttons to push, that can always be kind of hard to kind of understand. So this is going to be a little video of just importing some zirconia crowns and just kind of nesting, and I'll kind of just go over some little quick tools that I liked using this. Once this page will just be brought up, you'll have options here to kind of click on which materials you want to use. In this case, we're going to do a zirconia puck. These are my 3 sample crowns that I like to use. So once you find your folder, you'll be able to bring up the zirconia crowns that you like. And then there is a section down here that allows you to just let the computer software know what kind of restorations we're working with, whether it's an inlay, onlays, ultra thin veneers, over dentures, all on 6. Next step will be an option to let the software know the size of the puck. So we'll let it know that it's size 14. Gives us an option to write the name, so I can go ahead and place which puck it is. I meant to put 3D Master. So this is going to be our VITA 3D Master puck, 1M1. And then I can go ahead and input the scale factors as well. And with this software, I did notice one time I accidentally put the wrong scale factor and figured it out later, but I was able to, after everything was already nested, I can go back and change the scale factor and resave. I don't have to restart all the way over. So that was kind of a nice option to have. What I just did right there was I just took away the C-clamp just so I can kind of visually see how I need to nest my crowns, and then I can always bring that C-clamp back. Gives me 2 access modes that I can go ahead and orientate my restorations. Normally with this software, I've noticed it does a really good job importing the crowns. I don't like to touch them too much and change the orientation. If I do, I'll just drag it up and down so I can gauge my level of gradiences and my level of translucencies. The software does a really good job like seeing like the undercuts on the integument side and kind of really nesting it accordingly so it gets the best milling job done. I've noticed that. I really like that, actually. I think sometimes I've been nesting some crowns, and if I orientate it too much, it actually won't even take it, and it'll tell me to start over, and it'll want to mill it the way it wants to mill, which is kind of nice.
So it won't mill. It won't mill something that's nested incorrectly. Or
Yeah.
gonna get some. Okay, have some issues.
Which is nice because then, you know, it kind of prevents you from breaking any tooling, wasting material, things like that. So here I can kind of orientate it slightly and then just drag them down just so I can kind of gauge my translucency features. I always do my sprues last. I'll kind of orientate the crowns first, and then this program will kind of give you a bunch of sprues. You can keep them, or you can just go back and delete and rearrange them how you like. I think in this video I delete them and just rearrange them. And over here on the left we have the parameters for sprues, so you can in slight increments go up or down, how thick you want the sprue. And there's options if you want the sprue to be pre-cut at the end. So once it's done milling the whole crown and milling the sprue, the last like minute and a half, it'll come and cut your sprues 50%, kind of make it a little easier for you to de-sprue when you're on the bench. Or if you don't like that option, you can take it off. I think for my zirconias, I always keep them whole, but for glass, I'll have them cut like 50%, 60%.
For nesting in the puck, how many sprues? Because I know with a block, it's one sprue. Are there multiple on a puck?
On a puck, on the
Oh, I don't know if we just lost Noah. 1 second.
and I don't really have a lot of contacts to put the sprues on. I'm kind of forced to put one big one on the facial.
Okay. I think, I don't know if I just lost you or if we all just lost you for a second there, Noah, but I missed a little bit of what you said.
Okay. It looks like I think maybe everybody lost me there, but what was the last part that you got?
You were talking about where you place the sprues and how many there are when you're doing a puck.
Yeah, normally on a puck I can fit, anywhere between 18 and 20 crowns, and then I personally like to put two sprues on my crowns. 3 is pretty sufficient. Okay. And then that always really helps me. But
okay.
Preference. Once we kind of start getting into full arches, then I think it's kind of a matter of how thick your sprues are, where they're placed, where they're pulling, and that's kind of where it counts. Gotcha. And I'll kind of show that video as well. I have a video of a full arch. 1 second.
Oops. Yeah, we decided to get a little bit more advanced on our first webinar. And next week, we're going to be a little bit more, go back to the basics and talk about the P42 and wet milling. But we wanted to kind of show, because it's the end of the year. We've been so busy in it. So we're kind of having those conversations with people. And we wanted to talk about this because we're having a lot of conversations about CAM software and all on X cases. So for people who have not milled their own all on X or hybrids, we wanted to kind of show you what it looks like once you get it into the CAM software. There's a lot of labs and dentists that are doing outsourcing design. So if you're one of those, this is kind of your workflow as it comes through. So.
Yeah, no, awesome. This is a good video here of nesting some full arch. This is where I've been kind of blown away on the Up 3D mill. I've been really happy with the full arches. It's milling such a great job, and I wonder if it's because earlier I did learn from today just the servo versus the stepper, so maybe it's kind of the servo in it that's helping. I'm not sure, but we've been milling out a couple full arches just for some classes. I'm not getting any rocking. Things are milling out quite fast. I'm actually really surprised on how fast things are being milled, and the designs look great. So this mill does have a C-clamp, and I'll kind of get into the C-clamp, the 90-degree angle milling, which I really like. I just want to highlight right here. So sometimes when you bring a restoration in, it'll automatically try to define it. In this case, sometimes it's saying it's an abutment, which, I mean, I guess it can be, but technically we want to really put the milling strategy of an overstructure. And then we'll go ahead and let the program know that it's 25. Now, on this program on CAM, it shows that we can only go up to 25. One time, I think we had a case that called for a 30, and I was able to call Up 3D. They showed me how to input a 30 millimeter puck in there, and then you just have to buy bigger 30 millimeter drill bits tooling, and then you can go ahead and do that 30 as well. So that's kind of nice versus some of the other mills, you're kind of stuck and you're not able to go into those parameters. Another thing I like about UpCam and Up 3D is, it's kind of future-proof per se. When you have future materials that are coming out that have specific milling strategies, you can call Up 3D, you can get into your program and input those milling strategies in there so you can have a properly milled piece versus some of the other mills that if they're locked and VITA comes out with a really cool material in 2-3 years, but we can't mill it because those other mills are locked. These do a really good job on taking new information. So that's been a really cool thing, especially when it comes to one of our VITA dent disc, which is a composite silicate disc that could be milled dry or wet. That's been quite fun to be able to actually put the milling strategy into the Up3D and then go ahead and mill out some of those cool units. I'm actually going to take this full arch here and go ahead and try and do it in composite too pretty soon. So that should be pretty cool. Like my first composite overdenture with a dry mill.
Cool. Is the dentist, is that the one that's for the dentures?
Yeah. Yeah, the VITA Bionic Dent Disc was it's for denture teeth, and they get bonded into a milled or printed base. But we do see a lot of people, if the full arch can fit, we're seeing a lot of labs mill it in for full arches, either like a really nice long-term temporary prosthesis or actually finals as well on bars and things like that.
Oh.
All right, so this full arch was able to upload. Sometimes I've noticed on other programs it can take a little longer. This was a couple minutes for it to upload. One thing I like is when you click on that overdenture strategy, it already marks all the holes here. So it's letting us know that it does recognize the implant access holes. Already kind of gives a pre-draw out of the 90-degree angle for us for later. But that'll be kind of later. Right now, we'll kind of just shift the unit just a little bit just so we can kind of balance out the incisal edges and the multi-layer. Sometimes this can be a hard process for overdentures because you want to think aesthetics, you're thinking multi-layer block, how I gotta change the access to make sure all these teeth look alike. And then you'll look on the inside of that, the antagoid of that full arch, and you may have some undercuts and the tooling can get to. So it could be a challenge between do you want functional or aesthetics. Sometimes you can get both, sometimes it's really hard.
So yeah,
that's where it's kind of nice to be able to input the 30 millimeter information here and get a bigger puck and see if I can get different angles and so forth. In this case, it was able to fit and look pretty good, and it milled out perfect with no rocking. With this puck and the way I nested this, I'm going to go ahead and I think I'm going to be adding a stabilizer now and some spruing. So there's a tool section here that we're clicking on. And I think I'm just looking for my stabilizer, but I find it over there on the right. So for the VITA materials, I always recommend using a stabilizer for VITA zirconia. I think it's just the best when it comes to warping. It really just keeps everything consistent, and I just get better results and better verifications with the doctors and so forth.
Is that the in the middle there? Is that the stabilizer?
Yeah, so that's going to be our stabilizer. And then on the left, you can actually edit and make the stabilizers however you want. If you want them hollow, non-hollow, different features like that. I like mine a little thicker than the actual piece itself. That way it absorbs the heat more so than the full arch to avoid warpage and any shifting of my full arch. And then I think in this step, since I do 90-degree angles, I put some really heavy sprues in the back of that base to hold onto the puck, because in the anterior region, I won't sprue anything in the anterior because I want my 90-degree milling to kind of come in. And don't worry, once that puck comes out of the mill, in green state, I'm taking a carbide and going through those thick sprues so I can put it in the sintering oven. So what I do is in green state, I'll de-sprue everything, and then I take some sandpaper and I kind of sand the back a little bit real quick and give it an even shape so I can stand it up in my sintering furnace. I think these sprues I'm putting about 2.0. Yeah, 2.0 is about usually the minimal for my screws that I like. And I like to keep everything even and consistent, so that way, as things are kind of pulling left, right, up and down in the centering oven, I can kind of control more of that. And then as you can see on the integuloid side, even everything is marked completely. So the program knows exactly where the access holes are and where all the fine detail is. And then once we have everything properly screwed up with your stabilizer, then the last part I like to do is highlight the 90-degree angle process and let the computer know um, which parts I want highlighted. So the 90-degree angle, what that is, somebody asked me what that means yesterday, is traditional. We have a circle clamp on mills, and it's a clamp that holds the zirconia puck. But a circle clamp will hold the whole puck 100%. So you can see in this image, this is a C clamp where it's only holding the puck half. So that way, all that the facial anatomy that's positioned in this puck, since there's no clamp holding that, when the mill goes to do the 90-degree angle process, it can go in and get all the fine detailed anatomy and all the embrasures and root eminences on the incisal edges and things like that. So it's really beneficial, so you don't have to just do so much on the bench in green state and so forth. If you can let the mill work for you, then it's going to come out really great. And I think that's been a big difference in my results between this mill and some of the other mills as well. I'm really liking how detailed these burrs can get into.
Yeah, because the point of the burr gets to go right onto the surface, as opposed to if it was a 98 holder or like a circle holder, it wouldn't really have that access, correct?
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to even have that direction, so therefore those burrs wouldn't even be able to get detailed like this.
Okay. What is this part that you're
So
marking?
this earlier was just clicking one of the tools and then clicking 90-degree angle. So it allows you to highlight any of the areas that you want to see get milled out to the finest detail. So I usually like to hit a lot of my gingiva area. I hit all my tooth, and then I always just double check and make sure that all my embrasures are going to be hit as well.
So it'll spend a little bit extra time on those parts.
It'll spend a little extra time. It goes in there with a very fine carbide. I think it's like a 0.6 burr, and it just kind of finalizes everything. But it's a little bit longer, but a lot faster when you compare it to having to finish it by hand on the green state.
Yeah, that makes sense.
A lot safer, especially a lot of people that are just starting this, when they have to do a lot of stuff by hand on the bench. It's still kind of weak. It's in green state. It could fracture, it could crack, you could start over. So a lot of people like this idea a lot better of having the 90-degree, because the mill can just go ahead and finish it. Once you desprue it, you can go ahead and just finish or center it, place it in the machine. And I believe this milled out in like 3 hours. It was really quite fast. I was really excited.
That's good to know. And how long did it take to process because I get that question a lot. So is the milling time, but then to process it in the CAM software?
Yeah, I didn't do that on this video, but that's a great question, because there is a I've had this question several times as well. It's a so in the last couple programs, I've noticed when you pull in a full arch and you have the stabilizer ready, and you're asking for the output of the NC file. Some of my older programs can take 45 minutes to an hour for one full arch. It's pretty strenuous.
Yeah.
Let me grab a charger real quick here.
So yeah, one thing I've been told is that the UpCam software, and I'm not the, as you can see, I have a lot of questions because I'm not the technical person, but I have heard a lot that ours is shorter than some of our competitors when it comes to
I
um,
believe once once it was about 10 minutes
oh,
for this software to fully generate my whole NC pattern so I can send that to my mill, which was extremely
nice.
fast compared to some of the other stuff that I've used. It was really quite interesting. And the biggest thing I liked too was not only was it fast, it was it's just easier sometimes. Sometimes when I have a little bit of a harder full arch case, I would actually rather use the UpCam software than my other softwares. Um, it's I don't know if it's just like my other softwares are just a little bit more strict. So if I change angles, I'm not. It won't let me continue. But sometimes in UpCam, I can nest it the way I want it to nest, and it allows it. It won't block anything. And then I'll try it. I'll go ahead and mill it, and I'm like, oh, cool. That's exactly what I saw on the cam. So that's it was just really efficient.
Nice.
Yeah, I got a lot of cool, fun stuff, and looking forward to the wet mill, so we can go ahead and talk about a lot of our wet blocks too for the Up 3D mill.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess maybe we went over a little bit. I didn't, if there's any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. Can you pull up that poster? Or if not, it's okay. I
Yeah,
was hoping to maybe show the course that we have, our first in-person course at VITA. It's going to be January, and we'll be at Lab Day in February. The milling machine will be with us at our booth at Lab Day, and it will be in the VITA ballroom as well. So we're really excited about that. So if you want to see it in person and you're not, in the California area to come to one of our courses, that's a great time to be able to look at that.
yeah, that'll be awesome. That'll be a fun time. Good displays, and I think we're gonna have a lot of fun having a lot of these good courses too coming up.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be great. So the course is just to kind of give you the date and the details. So the first one, it's going to be digital crown design from scan to finish. It's January 23rd, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. And that is at the VITA headquarters in Brea, California. We're going to put our information on the next slide. Oh, sorry. Were you done with the CAM software? Sorry, I didn't know if there was another thing you want to go over.
No, we're good. We're good. I
Okay.
have the.
Okay.
Do you see the poster? I kind of posted it.
No, I don't see it.
Oh, that's why. I have it. It's not sharing, but it says it's sharing. I'm not sure.
Oh, okay. But yeah, if we can't show it, it is January 23rd. And it's a full day of just doing very basic. We won't be going into this advanced stuff. We're going to just kind of get you started on scanning, designing, and milling a single crown. And I think that'll be really exciting. We'll send everybody who's attended the poster. Oh, there it is. Perfect. So you can just kind of get an idea. We'll send you a way to sign up this week. So give you some more information on that. And yeah, and you can feel free to reach out to Noah or I. I think we put our information so you can reach out if you have any questions or anything. You can also always call Up 3D. Our number is very easy. It's 866-853 Up 3D. But you can also email us, and we'll be happy to get back to you if you have any questions and get you signed up if you're interested.
Yeah, awesome. That'll be cool. It's gonna be fun. Thanks,
Awesome.
Holly.
All right. Yeah, thank you, Noah. I don't see any questions, so I think we'll wrap it up. I know we kind of went over, but we really appreciate everybody who attended. Thank you, Noah, for walking us through those technical aspects and talking about VITA. And we'll be back next week. We're going to talk more on the basic side of with the P42 and some of the glass ceramics that VITA works with. So be great.
Yeah, awesome.
Okay, thank you. Thanks, everybody.
See everybody.